Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
I'm Ancy, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology. Today's session, we are going to discuss about loops in Python. So loops is one of the popular concepts which is used in almost all programming languages. So today we are going to discuss what are the different types of loops that's available in Python, and we are going to see some of the examples and how we are going to break the loops using some looping control statements. So let's get started. So starting off with what is a loop? So loop is used in programming languages to repeat certain tasks based on certain conditions. So if the condition is true, the loop gets executed. As soon as the condition becomes false, the loop will terminate. So that's the loop. So you can repeat a block of code any number of times based on the condition that you provide. So why loops? So loops are used in programming languages in order to reduce the code redundancy. So if you want to repeat a certain code, let's say we'll take an example here. So I've given, imagine if you want to print hello 100 times. So if you want to print hello 100 times, you need to use the print statement 100 times. So that will be increasing your code redundancy. So in order to reduce that, we can use loops, and we can just give like the condition to be as 100, and then we can just give one print statement which will print almost like 100 hello in a one single line. So that's helping us in reducing the code redundancy. So types of loops in Python. So we have two types. The first one is for in loop, and the next one is while loop. So the for in loop is used for executing a particular task. Here you will be specifying the sequence. So the sequence can be a list, it can be a string, or it can be a dictionary. So based on that particular values, it will loop throughout. So here we won't be having any condition. So for the for in loop, you won't be giving any condition. It will loop entire list or array or whatever that we are going to pass. So this is the syntax. So you have to use the keyword for followed by the variable name. So variable name is a user defined. So you can give any name that you wish, and in is the keyword followed by the sequence. So sequence can be a list, as you can see here, it can be a tuple, it can be a dictionary, or it can be a string. So you can pass those values there followed by the colon. So colon indicates that we are starting the particular block, and inside it you can give the code that you want to repeat endless number of times. So here you can see the example. So I've created a variable called as fruits, and I'm creating a list. So whenever you see a square brackets in Python, that indicates that it's a list. So I've given three fruits names. So first one is going to be apple, banana, and cherry. So now I'm going to loop inside it, and I'm going to print all the fruits name. So for is the keyword, and here I'm using the variable name as fruit, and in is the keyword, and fruits is the list name. Now I'm printing the fruit. So in for in loop, it will execute one element at a time. So I don't print all the three in the same line, but it will iterate almost one element at a time. So first it will print apple, and then it prints banana, and then cherry. So one element at a time. That's how for in loop works. So as you can see here, we are not giving any condition. So once the loop starts, it starts from the first element and it ends in the last element. So there's no condition. So you cannot break the loop by giving any condition. Okay, so for loop can also be used with range function. So range function here you can see. So for I in range 5. So range function is used to generate numbers from 0 to the n number that you're giving here. So n here is 5. So you should always remember that whenever you're giving 5, so 5 minus 1. So n minus 1 comes in the range operator. So likewise here I'm printing print I. So it will start to print from the range 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. It won't go till the last element. So always it's n minus 1. So here you can see for I in range 2, 6. So here I'm giving two numbers. So 2 is the starting element and 6 is going to be the ending element. So it will print from 2, 3, 4 and 5. 6 won't be printed. So that's the example. Next here you can see I'm giving 3 numbers in the range. So this is the starting, ending, and then you have a step. So I want to print only the even numbers. So I'm just giving 2 here. So now it will print 0, 2, 4, 6 and 8. So this is how your for in loop works. So the next loop is the while loop. So in while loop, you have condition. So you can provide the condition. So unless the condition is true, the loop starts executing. And once the condition becomes false, it will stop the loop. So here, this is the keyword while, and then you have to give the condition and whatever condition that you're going to give. It can be a Boolean condition, and then colon and the statement which you're going to do. So the code that you want to repeat, you can give it inside the statement. So this is the example. So here I've created a variable called as count. So count is equal to 0. and while count is lesser than 3. So count here has the value 0. So 0 is lesser than 3. So the condition is true. So it will start printing the count. And so initially it will print 0. And next I'm incrementing the value. So here you can type it as count is equal to count plus 1. So I'm using a shorthand operator here. So plus equal to 1. So it will increment the count value by 1. So now the count value becomes 1. So 1 lesser than 3. The condition is true. It will print the next element, which is 1. And again I'm incrementing it. Now the count value becomes 2. So 2 is lesser than 3. The condition is true. Again it will print the count. Again I'm incrementing it. So it's 3 now. So 3 is lesser than 3. The condition becomes false because 3 is equal to 3. So the condition becomes false. The loop terminates and only you can see 0 and 1, 2 is getting printed. Okay, so now in order to break a loop, so as I said, in the foreign loop you cannot break it. So but if at all if you want to break a loop, you can use these kinds of control statements for breaking a loop. So the first one is break statement and the next one is continue statement followed by the pass statement. Okay, the first break statement. So as the word indicates break, it's going to break the loop. So no matter how many conditions that you're giving inside a loop, if the condition for this break statement is satisfied, that particular loop will be breaked and it will be coming outside of the loop. Here you can see we'll be giving the loop condition, so loop test condition. So this is the first decision making diagram. So once this is true, it will get inside it, and now the break. So here the break statement will be having a condition. So if the condition is true, then only the break statement will get executed. So here if the break is yes, if the condition is satisfied, then the exit loop will be terminated. So your loop will come outside of it no matter if this condition is true. And if the break is like the break condition is if it's false, then no, then the loop body gets executed. So it is like you exit a loop prematurely. So when you give, if you want to print, let's say a number from 1 to 10, and if I want to break it from 1 to 5, then I can use this break statement. So let's see an example. So here I'm again using the foreign loop. So for I is the variable name in range. So it starts from 0 to 10. So now it's going to print from 0 to 10, but I'm going to terminate the loop. So here you can see I'm giving a condition. If I is equal to 5, break. So once the I value is incremented till 5, it will start printing the output. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 will be getting printed. So once the I value becomes 5, it will check here. If I is equal to 5, the condition becomes true. So it will break the loop and the next of the elements, the 6, 7, 8 will not be executed. It will be terminating the loop and it will come outside of it. So the next is your continue statements. If you want to bypass any particular statements in your loops, we can use the continue statement. So here in the flowchart, you can see you have the loop test condition and then followed by that, you have the condition for the continue. Same for the break statement as well as for the continue statement, you have to give a condition. So here I'm going to give the condition, and if the condition is true, then you can give the true and the loop will iterate, it will skip that particular iteration and it will go to the beginning of the loop and it will start executing. So let's see with an example. So here you can see for I in range, the same example, till 5 I've given the range. So if I is equal to 3, I've given continue. So what will happen is once the loop starts executing from 0, it will print the first element as 0, 1, 2 and it skips the 3, because if I is equal to 3, I'm giving continue. So what will happen is the loop control will go to the first line and it will start executing from where it left. So you can skip, if you want to skip any particular element in iteration, you can use continue. For example, if a student is getting TC and I don't want to print that particular student's name, then I can skip by giving the register number of that particular student and I can print all the other students' name. So this is how your continue statement works. So next is your pass statement. So pass statement is like, it's called as a null operation. It will be created for empty functions, empty classes and empty if blocks. So if you're not going to write the code, but you're just going to specify the conditions, but you're not going to define what's going to be happening inside. So when developers are working in different projects, they'll be working by creating the structure. So if they're going to work for a project, they'll be giving the project classes, like how many classes are needed for that particular project. So they'll just create the class files, but the coding will be added later on. So in that cases, you can use this pass statement. So here you can see the first example is empty function. So when you're going to create a function and you're not going to define what's going to happen inside the function. So here you can see def stands for definition and my function is the function name and then round brackets colon. So I have not written anything inside this, so pass. So I'll be adding the code later on. So here same way, empty if block. So I've given x is equal to And if x is greater than 5, I'm giving pass. So that's like a placeholder. So whatever you want to add, you can give there as a comment, and then you can add it on later. So same way for the class. So class, my class, and then you can pass. So the best practices that you need to follow when you're working with the loops. First, avoid infinite loops. So whenever you're creating a loop, make sure that your loop doesn't end in an infinite loop. And next, always use a meaningful variable names. So whenever you're working with the loops, in the first example, if you see, we were discussing about the fruits. So I had a variable called as fruit in fruits. So make sure that the variable that you're giving has a proper meaning. And understand the difference between break and continue. So whenever you're using a break, you have to know what's the difference. So when to use a break and when to use a continue. So if you want to terminate a loop, you can use break. If you want to skip a iteration, you can use a continue. And always be mindful of the loop's efficiency. So loop has a lot of efficiency. So whenever we are handling or whenever we're working with the loops, we should be very extra cautious about using large data sets and all. And double check the loop condition. So whenever you're creating a loop, always have an eye on the condition that you're giving. Okay, so let's recall what we learned in today's session. So first we started off with what is loops, and then we learned about the benefits of using loops, and we saw the types. So we saw the two types of loops, for in loop and then while loop. And then we studied about the loop control statements, which was break, continue, and pass. And we also discussed about the best practices. So that's all for today's session. Thank you.